Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Boom Boom Room with Whispers Across America.
Whispers.
Gets me every time. Gives me joy, makes me tear up all in one. And we got your favorite, America's favorite co-host, Mr. Ted Fitzpatrick.
Hello. Ready for
man.
the spooky.
Ready for the spooky. Yeah, this one going down the deep south this time. Old Georgia. Oh, Georgia. Oh,
Georgia.
Yep,
No
Georgia on my
peace
mind.
I find.
Oh, Georgia.
That's kind of an old sweet song.
It is, yeah.
Puts Georgia on my mind.
Shit. Puts on my mind to get out of there as quickly as possible. It really does. Oh man. How's everything going with you, Ted?
It's good, man. I'm just I'm ready for my trip across the states, man. That's pretty much the other side of the USA for me. So I'm ready to take a journey, find out what these Georgian people think is spooky and scary.
Yeah, Roger
And
that.
I think it's gonna be an interesting one because Georgia definitely has some history.
Yep.
I mean, they were, the fourth state to ratify the Constitution of the United States. I mean, so they're in it from the beginning until they didn't want to be in it.
Yep.
And they were, and then it just ended up that states remained together after the Civil War.
Yeah.
So
what do you when you think of Georgia? What do you think of? What comes to
man,
mind?
it's two things. I mean, I do think of the, of course, the history of the state being such historical and perhaps back in the day being kind of on a opposite end of modern philosophies, so to speak. And but at the same time, then you got the Georgia of today, which is advanced, cosmopolitan. They're modern. I actually almost went to Georgia, man. I almost went to school in Georgia, so it was too far away from me as a kid, so I decided to stay.
They call Georgia like the second Hollywood. They do a lot of filming there.
Well, that was The Walking Dead, right?
Yep.
The Walking Dead, man.
Yeah, they still film down there a lot of other movies too. Friend Juanita, she told me many a times they had to get motels that they was paying them to kind of get out of their homes for a little while they filmed around there, I guess.
Well, there was this little movie called Deliverance, right?
I don't know if it was filmed. I think that was Tennessee or Kentucky, man.
Probably.
But I tell you what about Georgia. I spent summer down there when I was a teenager working with my uncle and my cousin. And it was when O.J. Simpson, all that went down with the white Bronco. And I tell you what, they got some pretty women down in Georgia, dude. I
was born and raised in Cali, but I know the term Georgia peach, man.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
They sure do. I haven't been down there in years, and my family on my dad's side are all from there. And I had an uncle that was a mayor of a small town, 30 years back and stuff. But anyway, enough of that, I guess. But I guess we'll get started with these spooky tales. I hope everybody's been listening to them, that's been enjoying them. If Y'all got any suggestions? Leave it in a comment about anything that you don't like or do like. Let us know. Love to hear your feedback. Hopefully these will start reaching more people. Try to share them out if you enjoyed them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we're
Yep.
not even halfway through the states, man. So
No.
it's gonna be a pretty cool collection of stories.
Yes.
Once the collection is complete.
Yep. I'll have to binge watch them. I'll stay in my room and not get out.
Yep.
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 Yeah, 50-hour marathon.
So, back in the day, there were some famous Civil War battles fought in Georgia, and of course Ulysses Grant. It was the March to the Sea.
Yeah.
And through Georgia, but back then when the Confederate Army caught Union soldiers, they would imprison them in a pretty famous historical prison that became notorious for the poor conditions of that the inmates suffered. And in fact, the commandant of the prison was actually brought up on war crimes trial, and he was executed for the conditions of this place. Yep. And the place was called Andersonville.
Yeah.
Andersonville prison. So I think maybe I'm the first.
Yep.
I'm the first speaker.
Yes. Without further ado, Ted, let's go. Sounds you already got me interested. So,
so the first spooky folklore from the U.S. state of Georgia is called the Wailing Dead of Andersonville Prison. During the U.S. Civil War, Andersonville Prison, officially known as Camp Sumter, was one of the Confederacy's largest military prisons. But it quickly became something far worse: a death camp. Built to hold 10,000 Union soldiers, it crammed in over 30,000. With no shelter, little food, and foul water. Disease and starvation killed nearly 13,000 men in less than 14 months. Bodies were piled high, and the stench of death never left the air. Guards turned cruel. Inmates formed gangs that beat and robbed their fellow soldiers. Hope rotted faster than the corpses. But even after the Civil War ended, something stayed behind. Locals began to speak of eerie lights drifting over the prison grounds. Visitors reported hearing moans, cries, and whispered prayers coming from the open fields long after dark. Some claimed to see gaunt, blue-tinted men wandering near the cemetery, uniforms still clinging to their wasted frames. The most terrifying stories come from park rangers and tourists who spent time alone near the Providence Spring, which is a water source that miraculously burst forth during the prison's worst days. It was seen as a blessing then, but now it feels cursed. People have described being pushed, hearing shouts of, "Get out," in voices not their own. Cold spots blanket the area even on the hottest summer days. And some have seen a shadowy figure in a Confederate uniform pacing the grounds, muttering, his face twisted with regret, believed to be the ghost of Commandant Captain Henry Wirtz, the prison's commander who was later hanged for war crimes. Today, Andersonville is a National Historic Site, but many say it's also a mass grave, soaked with pain. And when the fog rolls in over the grass, you can still hear the wailing of men who never made it home.
Dang. So was that a Confederate or was it a
Yes, Confederate
oh
prison. Yep, yep.
oh dang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And and
Mm.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, okay, so they put in 30,000 Union soldiers and almost half of them died. Man.
Yeah, I mean, okay, look, not all men are same, and there's good-hearted men and evil men. If there's evil men running that prison, and they look at these, they're prisoners on the opposite side that they've been fighting and seen their brothers and friends lose their life to, believe me, they're going to do evil stuff to them. So I could see it being an evil, torturous place for real.
And just imagine the energies there, with
Yeah.
that many people dying in that short a time in one place.
Yes, yes.
They had to have left a mark, a psychic mark on the
Oh yeah,
on the grounds,
yeah, and inmates form gangs, and they're supposed to be on each other's side. That's awful, And I've had people tell me that's been in prison before, say, and I'm talking about people that just went in there for bad stuff, but wasn't their whole heart wasn't evil. And they've told me, man, it's the worstest feeling in some of the prisons and jails. You know what I mean? With so much evil, you can feel it. And,
yeah, it's those conditions, man. It's a test of the human will and human spirit, man, and character. I mean, people when they get down and out, faced with certain circumstances, man. There's hard choices to be made. And yeah, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, man.
No way, dude.
But I never heard about that water spring that sprang up. That's wild. I wonder, because if you think about all these these men, maybe they were trying to dig their way out through the ground, and they hit the ground, and maybe they hit the groundwater, and and they took it as and it became fresh drinking water and washing water, and hopefully they didn't use it as a latrine, because that would be bad. I think they knew enough back then, in the 1860s, not to poison their own water source. But
they knew that, because it said in the Bible in Exodus about how to use latrines and stuff. So they've been knowing it for a long time. In the Bible, written a long time ago. But that's bad. Like you said, a lot of evil stuff went on there, and negative auras, and just all above, man. All above.
Yeah, I wonder where that Captain Henry Wirtz was actually executed. I wonder if he was executed on the grounds. I mean, it would be kind of poetic justice if he was, and but of course, there's plenty of spirits there to hold him captive for the rest of time too.
Well, I think that I think that I actually heard this story on Discovery Channel years ago. Because if you remember, before YouTube was real popular, I know I would look at stuff on Discovery and History Channel, and it was on one or the other about this prison. I just remembered it, and talking about it was like a Halloween deal, they do all month, and talk about ghosts and stuff, and that was one of them. They talked about that the captain that was evil was supposed to haunt it. It's interesting, man.
Well, so Okay, Henry Wirtz was not executed on the grounds. He was executed in Washington, D.C. Which I guess that kind of makes sense in a way if you think about stirring up local passions in terms of a martyr. You know,
that's true.
they probably wanted to kind of process him kind of bureaucratically, and maybe that was just too much of a. I mean, to execute him on the grounds would have been too much of a inflammatory and also hurtful type of move, I guess.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Really does.
Mm-hmm. But Andersonville, man, like, would you spend the night in Andersonville?
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
What was at stake? You know. I mean, you know.
I wonder if voodoo would do a ghost hunt there.
Yeah, that would be cool, man. That'd be cool.
It probably overwhelming if you think about it. Like the people who are, like the psychic investigators, the people with the talent. I mean, I bet it's kind of like a nuclear reactor of spiritual energy. I bet they. I bet most of them don't like to get 100 miles within that place.
Yeah, I can imagine being tortured by all that energy and spirits and stuff like that. Yep. Interesting, dude. But if you don't have anything else, I've got some medicine under my tongue, so I'm going to sound weird here for a second. Okay. The Curse of Lake Lanier. Deep in northern Georgia lies Lake Lanier, a massive reservoir built in 1950s by flooding entire towns, including homes, churches, cemeteries, and farmlands. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers displaced over 1,000 families, left behind entire graveyards, and some which were never relocated. Locals say the dead was never at rest. Soon after the lake filled, strange things began happening. Boats would sink for no reason in calm water. Strong swimmers would vanish without a trace, only to surface days later with no signs of struggle, and with looks of terror frozen on their faces. Fishermen reported ghostly hands grabbing at them from beneath the water. Divers told stories of being pulled down by unseen forces, sometimes catching glimpses of eerie buildings still intact on the lake bed, with pews, headstones, and even coffins lying just below the surface. But the most chilling tale is the Lady of the Lake. In 1958, two women crashed their car off a bridge into the lake. Only one body was recovered. For years afterwards, boaters reported seeing a woman in a blue dress wandering along the shoreline at night, soaking wet, her face hidden, her movements slow and unnatural. Then, in 1990, divers found a car deep in the lake, tangled in tree branches, with the second woman's remains still inside. After that, sightings of the lady become more violent. Some say she appeared on foggy nights, waving at cars to stop, then vanishing. Others claim they've seen her face, bloated, pale, and eyeless, staring at them beneath the water. To this day, locals warn, don't swim in Lake Lanier after dark. The dead don't rest there, and they want company. Yeah, it just puts me in the mind of when they said about the Corps of Engineers, when they flooded land beneath the lakes. The LBL, Kentucky and Tennessee, displaced a lot of families and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there was a period of time in America where, um, it was the time of dam building, and the great
Yeah,
dams went up and made some some beautiful lakes and water reservoirs.
yeah,
But at the same time, yep, it it put lots of small enclaves and towns under the wave.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought about that until last year, until about the land beneath the lakes, because they had them dams, what, for electricity or just water in general to drink and stuff? Is that what it was
Yeah,
mostly for?
yeah, both of them.
Yeah,
I think the biggest lakes, have the hydroelectric dams where,
yeah,
they'll let out the water, which will turn big turbines
yeah,
to generate the electricity. But then again, also they're also the water source, collecting them and metering it out at a
yeah,
more measured pace. But I
yeah,
mean, woo wee, man, yeah, it is creepy to think there's human dwellings
yeah,
now in the deep where we are not able to access without scuba gear.
yeah,
uh, you know,
yeah,
it's a kind of I guess it kind of hits me from a time marches on
yeah,
feeling as well, right? It's just like it puts you in a little bit of awe
mhm,
over the way that big things can change.
yeah.
Um, yeah, whole communities, under in the water now.
Yeah, well,
But
it
it's
was. I mean, they really didn't have a choice because it got to a point that they would offer money and stuff, and then last if you didn't do it, it was just going to take it anyway.
yeah, but the creepy thing, man, is that lady, that lady in blue, or and then they found a car
Yep,
under the water. Woo wee,
yep,
man.
that's freaky.
Uh, yeah. So she has to be, um, I mean, cars only came about, what, like, for everybody in what,
Yeah,
like
30s.
the 30s. Yeah. So, she has to. I wonder what era she is from.
Said
But
1958 when she had the wreck.
oh, 58. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Man, I mean, as a kid swimming in the lake, I swam in one of the bigger lakes. It's
yeah,
not a great lake. It's not a great lake, but it's a big lake. Shasta,
yeah,
and but that's one of the things that kind of crosses your mind a little bit when you're especially if you swim out in the middle where it's hundreds of feet deep, and
dang, I'd be
you know
scared.
and you just, yeah, thought crosses your mind. You know, I wonder what's down there. Yeah, I wonder what's down there under that water. There's a lot
Yeah,
of water. There's a lot of water down there, and
yeah,
especially well, or if you're swimming in the shallow part, and then you might feel some
yeah,
algae
yeah,
tickle your, or plants, water plants tickle your toes, and
yeah.
whoop, what's that?
Man, that's what scares me about water, dude. I've always had a fear of it, I know it's bad, but I
Mm,
don't really like it. I'll go on a boat or something, or go, what I mean, fishing, but I'm not a swimmer. It
yeah, it's
just,
something to be respected, and
yes, it
I
is.
mean, we have a couple of big rivers that flow nearby, and you do hear every once in a while. Up here we got the American River and the Sacramento River, and
Yeah,
every year people aren't careful, and
yeah,
they underestimate the power. Mainly, it's the current, it's the
yep,
strong flow of the water that they underestimate. and because it looks so peaceful and kind of calm,
Yeah.
but woo, that current it flows, and
Yeah.
you'll find yourself 50, 75, 100 feet away from your boat, and if you're not a strong swimmer, woo.
Yeah.
So,
I've
yep.
I've heard a lot of stories too. Like they have out here, it's old redneck country people, and you got these places called strip pits, and a lot of them go out there and swim. Old muddy water. What it is like rock pits, that they dug out mining rocks, and eventually it fills up with water, and it's really good fishing, if it's been there a while. But yeah, we used to catch a lot of fish, but it's so dark, I heard, and they'll dive into it, and it's total darkness when they go down. I had a lot of friends tell me it's so scary, because it's dark, and I had a lot of them tell me they almost drowned, underestimating the distance and all that. So, yeah, you've got to be careful, man. You got to respect them.
Yeah, you better know which way is up, too.
Yeah. You definitely got to do that. You got to respect. That would be my fear if I was diving. It was darkness. How would you know which way's up? Be so dark in there.
Yeah, the only way, I guess you could have something that's filled with air and release and let go of it, and then the way it goes is up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. Scary, man. You got to respect it. But the lady in blue.
The lady in blue.
Yeah. All right, Ted. I guess if you want to read your last one, you get something too.
I heard the lady in blue. She might have had something of a pet, man.
What's that?
No, it was kind of a scary pet in the water. No.
Oh,
this is a separate folklore.
Okay.
So this one is all about Alti.
Oh.
The terror beneath the Altamaha-ha. I think. No, Altamaha.
Yeah. Altamaha.
Yeah, and then they add another ha. It's Altamaha-ha.
Yeah.
I wonder what that means. Oh, I wonder what that means, man. It's a Native American word.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's a river.
But it's a twisting black watered river deep in the marshes near Darien, Georgia, where locals whisper about something ancient, something that should not exist. They call it Alti, described as 30 feet long, with the body of a massive eel, thick coils like a snake, and the face of a deformed crocodile. Alti is no gentle swamp legend. Its back is covered in slick gray-black scales. Its eyes glow red in the moonlight, and when it rises from the water, it brings with it the smell of rot and blood. Fishermen have told stories for generations of boats bumped by something huge just below the surface, of horrible cries echoing from the reeds at night, of shredded nets and half-eaten deer found on riverbanks. But the most terrifying tale comes from the year 1974. A group of night fishermen were trawling for catfish near the old bridge south of Darien. Just after midnight, one of them, a man named Clyde Branton, leaned over the boat to unhook a snagged line. That's when something shot out of the water like a cannonball. It wrapped itself around Clyde's arm. The other fishermen watched in horror as Clyde was yanked into the river, screaming. The water exploded with thrashing and blood. They all tried to save Clyde, but it was over in seconds. all they recovered was Clyde's boot, still laced, filled with something that looked like chewed bone. The local sheriff blamed gators, but locals knew better. They say Alti doesn't just feed, Alti hunts, drawn by movement and noise, and worse, they believe it's protecting something buried deep in the swamp, something older than the river itself. Native American stories speak of a guardian beast, one that punishes intruders with teeth and terror. To this day, no one stays on the river after dark. Locals leave offerings, bones, fish, even small livestock at certain inlets. They say it's better to feed the beast than make it hungry. So if you're ever near the Altamaha River and hear the water ripple behind you, don't look down, because Alti might already be looking up.
Oh, Alti.
Man, that will keep you off the river after dark.
Yep, there we go with water again,
Yeah, yep. And I mean, it's kind of this one is very similar to you got to admit it's kind of similar to Loch Ness Monster, except I don't think I mean, like Nessie never attacked people though. This is almost like a sea serpent, really.
Yeah.
More of a snake like.
Hey, 30 feet long, along the creature, if you think about it, 30 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
Face of deformed crocodile. To the swamp, because you got to consider if this is, South Georgia, and, which I don't know the layout of how Florida is, but, with the Everglades, but, I know my dad, when he lived in South Georgia, he would tell me stories of like gigging for frogs and stuff like that. So there was a lot of marshes and water down where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, the Altamaha. I wonder how deep it is. It I mean, it's obviously runs through marshland and but I mean, these prehistoric creatures, they this in the last century, when we were just cataloging species on our planet, we came across this fish called the coelacanth. And this fish, structurally, its body looks the same as it did millions of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's possible for certain species just not to change over time and just be kind of the same. It's the same deal with cockroaches, man. And they're pretty much the same like they were millions of years ago too.
Damn,
So,
thanks. Unkillable they are.
Well, not really, but
yeah,
I mean. I mean, so it's not hard to believe that like there might be a species where, especially in the deep dark waters, man, where if they're good at hiding, they're gonna be down there.
Yeah, I always think about Loch Ness Monster, dude. Why haven't they found Nessie yet? Is just the lake too big, or
it's really deep, and there's something about it that makes it like just like it's big. Yeah, it's big and deep, and I think there's a lot of rock, like there might be like underwater caves or just a lot of rocky outcroppings and a lot of old debris that would sink to the bottom, so that scanning it with the sonar it makes it difficult, and these types of creatures, they could certainly be around. I mean,
Oh yeah, I
I'm
believe
I'm
it.
staying I'm staying off that lake after dark or that river. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not going in there. Shit, I ain't going no river in dark. I'm already
Yeah.
scared. The stuff I listen to when I go outside here in the city, walking BB, I get scared. You don't know what's going to jump out. You don't really don't know what's around the corner. But can't live in fear, man. But there's a lot out
Yeah.
there we don't understand.
Yeah,
Believe
can't live in
me.
fear, but a certain amount of judicious precaution is warranted, man. In dangerous circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't want to see some kind of monster or nothing. I'm not out there looking for it. And I understand people go out there and research things, but I just couldn't be a boots on the ground type researcher looking for any kind of cryptic creatures. I tap my head off to the ones that do. They're brave, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, at all.
Especially the ones that are this powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
with other ones you have a chance to get away or fight. Yeah. With this one, woo, man, if it gets you, whee, I wonder if you punch it in the eye like a shark, That's what they say. If a shark gets you, or if you're wrestling a gator, you try to keep its mouth closed, right? So
Yeah.
that because it can't, its muscles for opening its mouth aren't as strong as for closing and clamping. So
Yeah.
you don't want to be on the inside of the mouth. You want to be on the outside.
You want to be on the outside. That's crazy. It's made that way, isn't it? About gator's mouth. Yeah, that is nuts. But if you don't got anything else to add with the swamp monster, I'll read this last one. And I am going to read the last one. It's called The Fourth Floor Butcher. During, yep, the fourth floor, not the third or the second.
Not the 13th.
No. The fourth floor butcher. During the final months of the Civil War, the Marshall House became an overcrowded field hospital. Supplies ran low. Infection was rampant. And the doctors, exhausted and broken, turned to desperate measures. One surgeon in particular, Dr. Wallace Krause, was known for his speed with an amputation saw and his disturbing lack of mercy. He worked on the fourth floor, a place so drenched in blood it seemed through the wooden planks. He would remove arms and legs in minutes, stacking them like firewood. They say Krause kept specimens, preserved limbs, bits of flesh, even eyeballs, in glass jars, which he labeled by the patient's screams. One night, something snapped. After amputating both legs from a conscious soldier without morphine, Krause slit the man's throat, and he claimed he was easing the pain. From then on, he began helping other patients in the same way. Within a week, the hospital caught on, but when they came to arrest him, Dr. Krause was gone, vanished. The only thing left in the room was his blood-stained apron and a pile of organs wrapped in a Confederate flag. They never found him. Since then, guests staying on the fourth floor report nightmares so vivid they wake up screaming, soaked in sweat, and sometimes blood. Several have discovered long, thin scratches along their backs or legs, as if a cut with a bone saw. One woman woke to find bloody handprints smeared across her mirror, even though she was alone in the room. Hotel staff refused to talk about it, but locals know. Dr. Krause still roams the Marshall's house. On stormy nights, the power flickers, the lights dim, and some hear the sound of bone being sawed, slow and wet. If you're staying on the 4th floor and hear someone whisper, "Hold still, this won't take long," you better run before the blade finds you.
It will all be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right.
Dang. I mean, that's one of the scariest things you could. Here's a person who is supposed to, help and deliver life unto the afflicted, and here they something snaps and they become the agent of destruction.
Yeah,
That guy, that's a man. Woo, that'd be spooky. Because if you think about it too, he's got all sorts of that surgeon back then in the Civil War era with the saws and all those surgical instruments that they had were brutal, man. Woo!
Yeah, they had to hurry up,
I would not want to see that ghost coming after me with one of those bone saws.
Especially if you'd hear this. No, but man, they did have to be brutal, dude, for real.
Yeah. And they were also, people considered the best surgeons to be the ones that were the fastest.
Yep.
So you'd take a sip of corn, rye, and chomp down on a chicory stick, and then that old Georgia Peach nurse would walk on by, and she'd hold your hand, and then that guy would say 1, 2, 3, and hopefully that's the length of time it took to get rid of the gangrene limb.
Could you imagine them using them saws and maybe not cleaning them good enough, somebody else's blood in there? You know what I mean? And they had to hurry up and dang. Wonder what percent actually lived through an amputation in the Civil War.
That's a good question. They probably had it down to a pretty good technique, but it also probably had a lot to do with the extent of the damage, also how long did they have to wait before surgery? How infectious did that limb? How far did the infection spread? Right. And then there are some wounds that they couldn't treat really. The gut shots and all, and they probably had a triage set up where they they said basically, okay, these are the soldiers that are gonna live, these are the maybes, and then these ones are pretty much goners. So so let's get somebody reading the last rites right now.
Yeah, I wonder if they gave them a bunch of morphine and stuff to ones that were dying, or.
Oh, man, did they have morphine back then?
Yeah, that's what got a lot of them addicted. Yeah, after Civil War. Yeah,
morphine.
Really? Okay. Yeah, a lot of them were addicted.
Wow.
Yeah, they had the opiates, man. The Chinese had opiate wars over opiates. That's always been drug trade and stuff. Yeah.
That's right. From the poppy flower.
Yeah, I've seen many of documentaries on that. That's right. That stuff's been evil through
Like in the Wild West, they had the
Den.
opium den. Yeah. Man,
Drugs been around a long time. Evil stuff. I mean, they use it for the wrong reason, you know.
Man, what a. Yeah, it's kind of sad that dude. That dude. I wonder where he went. You know, he disappeared.
Probably went somewhere to become a dentist somewhere.
It's like he could. Yeah, man. I mean, he could have been that river serpent's dentist, man, with his big old bow saws.
Yeah. Probably so.
But,
that's. I mean, you had to have a level of sadistic in you. You know, you gotta be sadistic a little bit. I don't know what kind of mindset you have to be a doctor to be doing stuff like that. I mean, you got to be sadistic, or you just got to be kind of soft. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're starting off as trying to save people's lives,
yeah,
and then you are just confronted with just mass casualties that it almost, seems as if it could seem, that it's pointless. It's kind of like what, I mean, I have no idea, but you could imagine that that person, if their mind was that way, they could break and just not really see the difference between life and death anymore. Really, just kind of got it kind of overwhelmed. Unless there's a little more to the story that we don't know.
You don't know, but the mind is a fragile thing. When it breaks, it can break and bend, but it can break. Especially in this world, this reality. Even if it is reality, it might not be.
I guess that's one good thing about having these stories that are kind of scarier than our reality, man, because it kind of puts things relative, and it makes you realize we don't have it so bad, man. We don't got ghosts trying to drag us down in the lake and sea serpents trying to grab us.
Well,
just count your blessings, man.
Yeah, count your blessings.
Count your blessings.
You might see the doctor with the blue dress lady riding the sea serpent.
But I will point. I want to thank you though, because Ashes, at least you got a folklore story with the girlfriend. I got hugging Molly. Now I got the blue lady of the lake. So
lady of the lake.
And she's a Georgia peach.
Yep. Got you, Georgia peach. Well, I'll have you eat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She's kind of cold though, man. She's kind of cold.
Yeah. Well, you can warm them up though. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yeah, next time we'll be doing the old the king of the spam sandwiches states, Hawaii.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
cool. There's a lot of folklore from Hawaii. A lot.
Yeah.
And, Kilauea was I saw it was erupting too just the other day.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, dude.
That lava.
Lava. Yeah, beautiful place, but spooky. But if you don't want to add anything, Ted, I appreciate you being on here another time. I do appreciate it, and I enjoy it.
Always fun.
Yep, old Georgia on my mind.
And yeah, I'm gonna try to have Georgia on my mind for about 30 minutes, and then hopefully not when I go to sleep tonight.
No, dude, no, you don't want that. But anyway, I appreciate everybody out there watching it, guys, and don't forget, look in your closet and look under your bed, because you don't know what's out there waiting on you. But until next time, guys, peace out, everyone.